do. They had no policy, they had no skill, they had no anything, but they were very good at that. They were vicious, vicious, horrible people. Thank you.
Saying anything like anti-immigrant, especially about New York City, is perhaps the dumbest place you could say. Is one of the most diverse cities on the planet. Literally, a city that's history revolves around people literally coming in to New York as their first point of entry into the nation state. That's what the Statue of Liberty is about. That's where Ellis Island is. It's so insane.
Mr. President, your beloved New
This is another psychotic statement from Donald Trump.
York City. Your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zorhan Mamdani, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zorhan Mamdani.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government. And by the way, they get about 3 times what you get, Ron. If you look at the per capita, Florida gets 1/3 of what New York gets in terms of the numbers. Why don't you give us those numbers?
Yeah, well,
because that's what we should send him.
Yeah, well, like sometimes people say Florida gets more because they count Social Security recipients, but that's not money to the state. Those are seniors that live here. If they moved to North Carolina, you could count it there. So it has no interaction with the state government. They get more in the city and state governments than we get.
Right, substantially.
Ronald Reagan was talking about this on Majority Report. The old deportation orders were shelved by the Obama admin, but have just been reopened. Yeah, it seems like they're trying to hit every avenue they can to get those numbers up. And the numbers up that we're talking about is human beings, dude. We're talking about human beings. Just so we can make the most racist, mouth-breathing scumbag feel like this administration is doing something so they don't get angry at the reality that their rent is still going to go up and that their lives, their material conditions are not going to improve. Just so the most racist douchebag feels like the government does actually care about them because this is something that they wanted. Yes, Ronald Reagan is a immigration attorney that is a frequent guest caller on Majority Report.
We're going to be watching that very carefully, and a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. He's, we're going to look at everything, and ideally, he's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. I've always said we will not have socialism in this.
He's saying, oh, a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. Like he's doing the Andy Ogle shit. Insane, dude. Oh, as an American citizen, you want an election, but we don't like what you have to say? Sorry. We're going to denaturalize you. Psycho.
This country in the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism. And you got a lot of them like that. And you see AOC, she's out there with her, bad IQ. She's out there ranting and raving about how wonderful he is. And look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City. I was there a long time ago, and it was a long time since a Republican won the city. But you would think that a Republican would be able to win. Or you have a good independent running, Mayor Adams, who's a very good person. I helped him out a little bit. He had a problem, and he was unfairly hurt over this question. He made a statement to the effect that this is terrible. New York City can't have all these immigrants come in. And like he was indicted the following day. And I said, that was a phony indictment. And it was a phony indictment. That was a Biden indictment. I said, don't feel bad. I got indicted 5 times every time you opened your mouth. That was a bad group. That was a very dangerous group, I will tell you. These were not nice people. That was the only thing they could do. They had no policy. They had no skill. They had no anything. But they were very good at that. They were vicious, vicious, horrible people. Thank you.
Saying anything like anti-immigrant, especially about New York City, is perhaps the dumbest place you could say. Is one of the most diverse cities on the planet. Literally, a city that's history revolves around people literally coming in to New York as their first point of entry into the nation state. That's what the Statue of Liberty is about. That's where Ellis Island is. It's so insane. Yeah, the U.S. doesn't like foreign democratic elections where a socialist is elected. Now the U.S. doesn't like domestic democratic elections where a socialist is elected. Regime change incoming. Anyway, my statement on Donald Trump's threat to deport me and his praise for Eric Adams, who the president helped out of legal accountability. The president of the United States just threatened to have me arrested, stripped of my citizenship, put in a detention camp, and deported. Not because I have broken any law, but because I will refuse to let ICE terrorize our city. His statements don't just represent an attack on our democracy, but an attempt to send a message to every New Yorker who refuses to hide in the shadows. If you speak up, they will come for you. We will not accept this intimidation. That Trump included praise for Eric Adams and his authoritarian threat is unsurprising, but highlights the urgency of bringing an end to this mayor's time in City Hall. At the very moment when MAGA Republicans are attempting to destroy the social safety net, kick millions of New Yorkers off of health care, and enrich their billionaire donors at the expense of working families, it is a scandal that Eric Adams echoes his president's division, distraction, and hate. Voters will resoundingly reject it in November. Great way to bring this back to the general election. Yes, there's also more that we must discuss. Kirsten Gillibrand has apologized to Mamdani over jihad comments. As you guys know, Kirsten Gillibrand was said some incredibly racist shit of the Brian Lehrer radio show, saying that Zohran Mamdani wants to kill all Jews and do a global jihad. Like shockingly racist shit. Coming from a Democrat, it is shocking. Okay, like that's not even like in the past. Democrats have like condemned Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar under similar Islamophobic terms, but I've never heard a Democrat this closely associated with the city come out and say that. Okay, like you're not Charlie Kirk. Okay, you have to understand. Like this is uniquely racist. This was uniquely racist for a Democrat to do. Under normal circumstances, for totally reasonable statements that Muslim congresspersons make, the Democratic Party will, take the other route, silence, which of course is a tacit endorsement of all the attacks that they're receiving, right? Or sometimes being like, well, people should be more careful of the words that they use, like subtweets. Things like that. Kirsten Gillibrand took it on the fucking chin. Like she took the John Fetterman route, which by the way, I don't even know if John Fetterman had said something as racist as Kirsten Gillibrand about Zohran. Has John Fetterman said anything like this racist about Zohran? I don't know. It was truly ridiculous. I'm sure he said some he doesn't know what's going on, but like this was wild. Not yet. He's still processing. Yeah, they haven't told him yet. Out of fears that he'll get a third stroke. Bro, she was hysterical on that phone call. No, absolutely. It was insane. Gillibrand now has apologized to Mamdani. So your phone calls worked. We and many other people literally blasted the phones on her office, demanding a retraction and an apology. And I'm glad that it came. But the very fact that it existed was insane to me. And obviously, she will most likely never recover from this, I think. Austin Allman says, it could be a one-off, but Gillibrand being forced to apologize with a manufactured hysteria over Zohran's refusal to condemn every word in the Arabic language fades without him giving an inch feels like a watershed moment. I think we're playing by a different set of rules now. Yes, that's a hopeful way of looking at it. But yeah, in the past, judging by what took place against Ilhan Omar and judging by what took place against Rashida Tlaib in the past, remember, she was censured for saying from the river to the sea, Palestine would be free. Rashida Tlaib was. And the lack of defense for these individuals from the Democratic Party when they were receiving a torrent of hate versus a Democrat actually forced to apologize while other Democratic leaders are also slowly but surely, even if they don't immediately rise to the occasion and offer or issue they're still forced to even if they don't endorse, they are still forced to congratulate the victory, yada, yada, yada. We shall see what happens. The rules change every day. The richest people in the world are mobilizing the Dems to cut Zohran down. That for sure is happening. David says, the question remains, why does she walk into the Lehrer interview without knowing off book what Mamdani had actually said? She sounded frazzled. We're all guessing at what's going on inside her head, but my guess is that the specifics were immaterial to her. She expected to be able to characterize his comments however she pleased without pushback, true, and she has been in a state of disbelief over the last week that isn't how Israel politics works anymore, which finally broke today. And Kirsten Gillibrand is far from the only figure that is going to be the recipient of this cold, hard reality that is coming for them. There is no other group or no other advocacy aside from pro-Israel advocacy where actual institutionally important figures can go on national television and say, this guy's a Jew hater, he wants to kill all Jews, without any evidence whatsoever. There are still people who are doing that. Eric Swalwell did that. Richie Torres implied it as well, not to the same degree as Kirsten Gillibrand, because he still has his progressive bona fides, despite the fact that he's Israel's attack dog. Jonathan Greenblatt still goes on television and lies all the time. In a few weeks, Fetterman will be like, who the hell is Zorro Tahini? He's the Internet Explorer of politicians. I was told that this guy, Zorro Tahini, won the New York City mayoral primaries, and I am very scared. Am Israel high. He is going to be a real...